I'm a boss lady, yeah. I'm a boss lady, yeah. They call me boss lady, hey.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Jess.
And this is the LoveLostGirls Podcast. Episode 1.
All about breakups.
Okay, mine was actually just this year that passed, or I guess 2021. It was my first relationship. It was long-term, but also online most of the time. It's like a long-distance relationship because he's playing hockey and like 9 hours away. Anyway, so it was a pretty good relationship. There was like no fighting or anything, but the breakup, ooh, we both took it hard. I would just say my recommendation, cut them off after that. Like, do not speak. It's only gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
And yeah, what about you?
Well, okay, my first breakup, I was cheated on, kind of, I would say. And that's never good. That's never a fun little thing to deal with. But first breakups are really difficult because it's your first connection. And I think you need to cut yourself some slack because I feel like you get consumed really in it. And it's just not good.
Mm-hmm. About your worst breakup?
The one that I'm dealing with right now, I would just say.
How long was that relationship?
3 years, which is pretty
That's
bad.
Pretty hard. Mine was only 9 months, so I mean it wasn't as bad. I think the longer with someone, the harder it is to get over for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with your point of cut them off, because time and time again, I think it's more apparent that that's the healthiest thing for you and everybody else.
You know what I find, when you're in it, you want to just keep talking to them, you want to try and spare the friendship or the relationship.
Yeah.
But once you're done and you look back, I look back now and I'm like, oh my god, that's embarrassing. Why did I try so hard?
It is so embarrassing
you're
because
yourself
they're off doing something else. They're off doing whatever it is with whoever else, and it's why are you not doing the same? Why are you not just going and chasing whatever you need to chase?
I think girls take it hard right away and guys don't deal with it till later. That's something that I've heard consistently, and obviously not to generalize, but that could be true in a lot of cases. And so guys might not show that they care right away, and it makes it way harder for the girls to deal with. But,
that's true.
But yeah, definitely just cut them off. Especially if it was a negative or toxic relationship. After that, do not keep trying to get at them. Don't be the one to just end the conversation.
Yeah.
Don't be waiting on them. You look
no,
desperate.
Because you hear that all the time. If he wanted to, he would.
Exactly.
So if he doesn't, then you don't either. And that needs to be a clear thing for everyone.
I think so. Yeah.
So,
mine, I think, was we were fighting over really stupid shit. Little stupid shit that would never we were best friends, I would say. My relationship that I was in, it was still my best friend. That's why it was hard. I got in a routine of being so close to somebody and then they were gone like that. So it was really, really hard. Yeah. But when it gets to the point where I was in the relationship and I was unhappy, you realize once you're out of it, you have a complete mental change. You're so upset, but you have to be look, I was unhappy. We were fighting over literally dumb shit. He would be leaving to go back long distance, and he would want to see his friends or something, would have plans with me, want us all to hang out, and then I'd be oh, don't worry, you can go hang out with your friends. And then one of us would get mad. I'd get mad that he was choosing to see his friends before leaving, or he'd get mad that I didn't want to come hang out with his friends. Just little stuff like that. That's just lack of communication, or and it'll also just feel different. There'll be a point in time where you'll sit down next to each other and it just won't feel the same anymore. You'll be if you're not happy and excited and butterflies to see them, and it's only been a couple months, and you're fighting over little shit, it's not gonna work out right now. And Jess said, it might work out in the future, but you were too young to be getting in little parental arguments like that.
Yeah. Well, mine is a little different because mine was a really long relationship. I think in the moment of the breakup, I didn't even realize until after the breakup, after that day that it happened, I didn't realize how bad things were. And I feel when you're in a relationship for so long, you kind of get a mask over your face, and you just are so consumed with it that you just pretend everything's fine when it's not. And I think unfortunately the truth is that sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you're not gonna realize until after, when you can reflect and be that person was pretty shitty to me. That person didn't give a fuck. They just did whatever they wanted to do, and you were kind of dragged along. And that was not something I want to be a part of, and like you cope with that after.
Like actually my situation was pretty rough because so it was me and my two best friends dating, like I was dating my boyfriend at the time and his two best friends. And so there was the three of us and the three of them, which was definitely, like, I would say not a good thing. Like, I don't know how, it just happened. Like, we didn't all plan, obviously, for that to happen, but it just did. That was definitely something that was, like, a struggle, for sure. There was competition while in the relationships. And then after...
each other.
Yeah, and then after it's hard because it's like, I didn't want to hear about him anymore because it was painful to hear.
Yeah.
And I would hear it from my friends, like, what he's doing. And even still now, like, I hear... when I do see some of these friends, like what he's doing, it's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, literally, like I said, cut it off. Like, and it doesn't mean, well, yeah, it does mean cut off contact with them, but, like, tell your friends, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't want to hear about him. Don't tell me about him. Like, it is only going to make it worse for you, and you shouldn't want to know what he's up to, because, like, then that means you still care. You shouldn't still care if it's over. Like, it's okay. I don't want to say you shouldn't, but, like, it's okay to obviously... like, care and take your time, but it comes to a point when, like, don't beat yourself up over it. Like, you hearing it's gonna make it worse.
You need to not care. Not that you don't care, but it's like you need to not.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
For you, friends contributing?
I would say that, like, I think my friends were very, like, whatever they're like, whatever you want to do, you do. Like, they're, like, very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. Ultimately, like, in a breakup, like, you know yourself best, and I think, like, you know what you want and like who you are best, but people can contribute to your ideas, but I don't think you should fully immerse yourself in them, if that makes sense.
I also think sometimes, like, just from what you said there too, it shows that sometimes the guys will listen to their guy friends as well, and sometimes they're not given the best advice.
I think it's like a social, like, power dynamic thing where it's like, oh, like, you're doing that, like,
yeah,
and like, whereas I feel like girls are more supportive, like,
emotional,
even if they don't like, even if they don't like what's being done or what's being said, like, I feel like they're more supportive than a lot of the way, like, guys deal with
like,
things.
you cope with it in your way and I'll just be here to help you.
Guys are more harsh, I think. They're more, like, really blunt. Yeah. Like, okay, like, come on. Like,
why are you crying over
there,
bitch? Like, yeah. And so, obviously, like,
and then, like, that
not
makes
every
feel,
guy.
like, it makes a guy feel bad if they're, like, more emotional, I guess. Like, that they're, like, well, and then they don't deal with their feelings, and it just, like, opens, like, this whole other issue.
Yeah, definitely. I think that girls take it harder right away. I think that guys will, like, often move on and, like, go get with a whole bunch of other girls and, like, you know, screw off for a little while, and then, like, once they're done that little, like, fuckboy phase, like, they
get out of the phase and they're like, fuck, now what? I have nothing. Like,
yeah, because they realize, like, okay, great, they just went and, like, got with a whole bunch of other girls, but they don't have, like, that emotional connection, they don't have that emotional support, like. And
that's so hard, like, being on this side of it, where it's like, you know that's the case. Like, you know that's gonna happen. It's so frustrating to watch.
Because you have to deal with watching them go through their fuckboy phase of, like, I don't give a shit about you, like, whatever.
And then you know that they're gonna, like, flounder after, and it's just like, why can't you flounder?
And then
why can't you, like, deal with this now?
And by the time you're okay, they're just dealing with it.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that girls have it harder. Because I think, I don't want to generalize things.
We're hormonal.
But there's also some girls that go off and, like, they'll just go off in the same way and, like, hook up with a bunch of guys.
That's true.
I think it depends on the person. For me, I feel like I'll say that I think I've dealt with it worse than all of my breakups. Like, all the guys in my relationships.
I had a pretty, like my relationship, I'd say that the guy was pretty open to being emotional about it. Like, I thought that I think that he, obviously, like, I didn't talk to him. He cut me off, I cut him off, I guess. Like, it was, like, a mutual, like, we're not gonna talk anymore. We just stopped messaging each other. Like, I never tried to reach out again after we, like, stopped talking. But, I had heard from other people, like those friends that I had been talking about, like, I'd heard that he had been, you know, like, getting a bunch of other girls. I don't know if it's true or not. Like, I just decided to, like, pretend it wasn't and, like, not care, right?
Yeah.
But they said that, but I don't know if that was true, because then I heard from other people that he was really emotional about it and he was really upset. So in that sense, I got lucky.
I've heard, like, both sides too, where, like,
it
the last person I was with, like, I've heard that he was really emotional about things at certain points and, like, did some, like, a bunch of erratic things even about, like, how he was so upset about it. And then at the same time, I find out that he's doing this and that with whatever
Other
girl.
girls, yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. Like, I like will never be able to like understand the male psyche. I don't know what goes through their heads. And I think that like, I don't know. I just feel like girls definitely have it harder. That's like my consensus is like most girls have it harder.
Toxic relationship. Well, that's the first
Well,
one.
yeah. I would say like, okay, it obviously depends because there are people that do turn around and change, which is fine. I don't want to like discount those people, but like if they've consistently tried again and it still like doesn't work, then like
It's an endless cycle.
Yeah.
Like it's a toxic loop. Like that's what I would say. Like you can try once. Like me and my first boyfriend, like my only boyfriend that I had, we broke up once and then we tried again, and then the second time I was like, I'm done. Like as much as when it first happens, you're like, it's like your person, like you want to go back with them so bad, or you want to talk, work it out. Like no, because the second time you do that, and then it becomes the third time and the fourth time, it's just literally a toxic loop. And like you see it happen with people, and when you see it happen from like a point of view where you're watching, where you're not in the relationship, you think like, oh my god, you're so stupid. Like like why is this girl doing that? Like she looks like an idiot. Everyone's telling her. But I mean, ultimately you have to realize for yourself. Yeah. Like people telling you isn't gonna help you get over it. Like you have to decide for yourself, like this isn't good for me. It's toxic, and maybe it's even changing your own character, and you're like, I'm becoming toxic. You need to do some self-evaluation and just like look at it from a larger perspective. Like this is one little thing in the many years of life. Like you're gonna have many relationships. So yeah, like
I think like you also have to realize that like you need to like think to yourself like why you're doing this. Like why do you keep going back? Is it because you actually like this person? Is it because you're comfortable? Is it because you have a connection? Like you have to really like define what's going on there, because like a lot of the times like you're just comfortable with this person. Like you're not just like not that you don't have a connection, but I think like you said earlier, like the longer you are with somebody, like the harder it is to get over. And I think like when you're so toxic with somebody, like that becomes a pattern that's almost like hard to break. So like coming back into that is so comfortable, even though it's like ultimately bad for you. And like that's something you have to identify and like ask yourself if it's something that you're allowing yourself to do or not anymore.
Yeah, and then when people get too comfortable, like right after the breakup, I've heard this so many times from friends, is that like they feel they can't move on, like they can't see themselves in another relationship, and that's fine. Like you don't have to get into a relationship.
Well, you can be on your own.
Yeah,
you can be independent.
Yeah, be an independent woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like people will say like that they don't see themselves moving on, or they can't see themselves with anyone else, and because of that they go back because they're scared of being alone. Like you should never be in a relationship because you're scared of being alone. Like that's like a red flag.
That's a red flag, like, on yourself, too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That you need independence and, like, you need to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. Oh, my God. That's, like, actually such a dick move if, like, a guy does that.
But I think that did almost happen to you, no? Like, he's like, well, I hooked up with this girl.
Oh, yeah. Like, that he brought it up. That, like, we were talking one time, and he was like, oh, by the way, like, this happened. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like I didn't need to know that.
Well, it's just like, even then, so it's just like, he's like, I thought you knew. And I was like, no, but like, fine. Like, he said it to me and I laughed, which I felt really bad about, because like, I knew the girl that he hooked up with, and I didn't mean to laugh. It just came out. Because I was like, oh. That's
the best reaction, is giving them no fucking reaction. Like, pretend you don't care. Pretend you don't give a shit, and then it's like...
But it's not that I didn't care. I don't know why I laughed. Maybe it was a defense mechanism, but I literally was just like, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
And he was just like, I don't know, I guess he was embarrassed after, which was like, yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've had a situation like this, and it hasn't been with anyone that I've been dating, but... one time a guy like that, he had liked me at the time, and I used to like him, and whatever, like he was just acting really weird. So at that time I didn't know that he liked me until after, and then he called me, FaceTimed me, and told me all about this girl that he just hooked up with, like really trying to like make me jealous. But I was like, good for you.
I don't know
like
why
I don't care.
They think
like,
that's like a good path to go down. It doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah, no, definitely like by him trying to make me jealous, I was like, okay, like this makes me feel better. Like you're trying to make me jealous, and it's obvious, like it's not making me jealous. So I feel like I won in that sense, but yeah. No, also
it was like definitely hard to like deal with, because it's like, how could like they move on so fast? But like we already said, like boys, like
you have to realize it's not genuine.
Yeah, and I think like you like get down on yourself a lot for like no reason. Like I don't know, like if they want to do that, then fine. Like you have to just like focus on yourself, I think.
You know the clips like emotional damage, like that literally is how it'll be. Oh my god, I've had a guy tackle me to the floor in the middle of like a beach area thing. Like that was not cute. For what reason though? That was his way of like
getting your attention,
like trying to get my attention. Yeah, completely like jumped on, tackled to the floor.
Oh my god.
That was funny. That was a good one. Nothing like rude, but very weird. I guess some people don't know how to express. Anyway,
well, that's
that was one.
That's literally like in like elementary school when the guys like would like hit you or like be mean, and then like you're like, oh, it's just because they like me.
Yeah, it is like that. It was like that. I don't know what else, honestly.
No, that was definitely mine. That like
I know. I've actually
tried to get my attention.
I've been to a party where the guy invited me to come and had a new girl like there as well, and was like hooking up with her in front of me and like looking at me, like trying to like make it obvious, but I'm like, I don't care, like I'm not, you know, like you invited me here, like I don't exactly. If we're not dating, like you do you. It makes you look worse. Like that's those are two things that are sure.
If you have to validate yourself by tearing down somebody else, like in any sense, like in a relationship, in friendship, like no matter what, like if you have to tear somebody else down to make yourself feel better, if you have to call somebody names, if you have to swear at somebody just to make yourself feel better, like you are a child. Like sorry, like at the end of the day, like you just don't know how to deal with your emotions, and like that it's just the one thing that makes me so angry, because I'm such the opposite. Like I don't yell at people in that way. Like I get angry at things, but like I don't like swear at people, like, and I don't call people names like belligerently to hurt them, like you know what I mean. Whereas like I've definitely been in situations where like I'll be like trying to just like voice my opinion or voice like something that's bothering me, and they'll be like, well, this, like, well, you're a this, and like it's just really, it's hurtful in the moment, but like looking back, like
you kind of like laugh, like
you're kind of like, well,
that was what they had to say.
Yeah,
I haven't experienced that, but if a guy ever said that to me, oh, done, like they'd be done. I'd probably like hit them in the face.
You're so much more like, you have such more of a backbone than I do. Like I'm like, okay, it's okay, like it's fine, like whatever.
Yeah, no, if a guy would call me a slut, like they'd be done. But I know what you mean, like try to turn their friend group against you, or like talk down on you, like she did this, she did that, like and that definitely just, it causes anxiety for me. Like I
experienced the same thing. Like
it's just stressful because you don't want your name to be dragged and slandered, like especially if it's something that you didn't do.
That's true.
But even if it is, and they like just like swayed it to make it sound like they're more of a victim, that's just like
sometimes people are equally wrong. Like sometimes you can be in a relationship and both people have done bad things, or like have done things to make the other person upset, but like obviously your side is going to be biased to how you feel. So it's like, I think it's like really irresponsible and like kind of rude and mean to like go to mutual friends and be like da 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 when the mutual
mutual friends, when you're friends with them as well. Yeah, for sure.
When like they haven't heard your side, and then like this like external person who doesn't know anything about your relationship is like having all these thoughts and ideas about you, when like they don't know the whole story.
Yeah, I definitely see that a lot, but you know what, like my advice is when you meet them and you present like who you really are, usually people won't be persuaded by what they hear, and if they are, you don't want to be friends with them anyway. Like fuck that. Like if they can't make up their mind for themselves and they're going to just base what they think of you off of what like a guy that just broke up with you or a guy that hooked up with you says, then like you don't want to talk to them anyway. Like they should have their own fucking opinion about you. Like if they don't if whatever, like it's happened to me before where like even girls have talked shit and like whatever, and then I meet the girls that they've talked shit about me too, and the girls are so nice and like so open to just communicating and being friends and whatever. Like those are the people that you want to be friends with. Right.
Golden rule number 1 is you
fuck his best friend. I'm just kidding.
Are you?
Yeah, no, maybe don't do that if you're planning on getting back with him, but if you're not, then I mean feel free. Like it's totally like the world is your oyster.
Honestly, the world is your oyster, and collect all the pearls you can.
Pearls like representing the best friends, all his best friends.
I think they got it. cut them off. What we've been saying the entire time. Like, you need to just cut them off. That's the only way.
Contact.
Like, because if you want things to not be messy, just cut it off. And then it's not messy anymore.
Right. If you're not communicating with them, things can't get worse.
If anything, things will get better.
Yeah, but
people simmer down.
That is so true. Like, people will forget about it over time. Like, it is just one small little roadblock in your like large life, and people will forget. Like, usually the key thing that I've learned is like people are way more focused on themselves than they are on you. So sure, they may be discussing your relationship right now because it's the hot topic, but like they will get over that if once you stop talking about it too. Like, if you keep bringing it up and you keep talking about it, like. Yeah,
that's what I realized. Like, especially like my last breakup was like so public with our friend group, and we had a friend group that we were all like mutual friends. Like all of us used to hang out all together, guys and girls, and like more people would talk about it behind both of our backs. Like it's like it wasn't even about like his side, my side anymore. It was just like Jess and him are back at it again. Like they're talking again, and it's like everybody decides to talk about it with themselves, which is like. If I don't want that, then I just have to like cut it off. Yeah, like,
and it's unfortunate because sometimes you want to confide in a friend and like just have them listen and not talk about it and have their opinion and whatever. But it is hard, like for sure. But yeah, in terms of messy breakups, like if you're not gonna have friends that are gonna support you, don't talk to them about it. Like don't give them any information. Which is
really unfortunate because like if it's a real friend, I feel like they should be a good listener. Like I think that like sometimes like friends want to protect you and they take it to the extreme where they kind of just like say what they think is right without like really listening to what you feel, which can be hard. But I think like if you have friends like that, I don't know if they're really good friends is like kind of controversial, but that's what I think.
In my situation, I think it could have gone like much messier. Like in terms of messy, like with him, it would have been messier if we had kept in contact for sure. Harder to get over and all of that. In terms of friends, I literally had to say to one of my friends, like, I don't want to hear about him. Don't talk to me about him. If they can't respect your wishes, they're doing it intentionally to make you upset. And I assure you that, and you shouldn't be friends with them.
Or just being reckless. Which is like, if you don't have a brain enough to like remember, like, oh, like, I'm gonna make Mel sad if like I do this, like, that's just reckless. And that's, again, not a good friend. Like, unfortunately, like, then they're not a good friend.
It got to the point where I was like, how does she not realize that she's doing this to me? Like, how does she not realize that every time I'm there, she brings up his name and I don't want to hear it? Like, I've said, please don't talk to me about it. Please, I don't want to hear it. And that's when it does get messy. And, like, you could lose friends over it, which sucks. Like, because when you're going through a breakup, the last thing you need is drama with your friends. And I couldn't even take it. Like, I was so upset over my breakup that I couldn't even handle, like, losing a friend at that point in time, but I just distanced myself. I spent time with my mom, who was the one that would listen to me, and I'm grateful that I had her there for that, and it's hard to confide in your parents, but I did, and like, I just didn't spend time with that one specific friend who like couldn't shut up about him, clearly. So even if it was unintentional, it was like a very like every single time I saw her, so I just had to take my space and like,
which is fine.
You know, that's
like,
fine.
It's like, I think like another big thing like with everybody, like friends, relationships, whatever, is like boundaries. And like you need to like be able to set clear boundaries with yourself and like with other people. So like say like this guy like keeps trying to message you and like you don't want things to be messy, whatever, your ex is messaging you, like you need to set those boundaries. It's like you can message me if this, or like you can't message me at all. Same with friends. It's like I can't be friends with you unless you respect my wishes. Like these are boundaries that like everybody needs like throughout your entire life. With all relationships, like there will always be boundaries, and like that's to protect yourself and to protect like your well-being.
I think especially once you're at the university level, you are no longer tied to anyone, and that's such a big thing. Is like you've been friends with someone for so long, let's say high school, whatever, and so you feel like you're like indebted to them, or like they're your friend forever and you can't move past that. But that is not true. Like it'll be hard, it's tough, but when you're in university, like nobody has time to deal with this like childish shit anymore. Like there are so many new people that you're meeting,
and it's so easy to just like walk away. Well, it's not easy. Like obviously you still have these connections with people, but I think like it's a lot easier than like in high school, for example, where you're like going to the same building every day, seeing the same people every day. Like
you are so independent in university, and it's such a bigger world. Like you definitely don't, if you don't want to see someone, you won't see them. So I would just say like you're also adults. Like we're adults now, and it's not these little kiddie games where people are trying to contribute to making your breakup messier. Just like no one has time for that. Like fuck that. No.
Mindset. All about the mindset.
Like, I will like go to the gym, I'll post, and I'll be like, I'm just doing so much better.
For
like,
some reason, it's like when we do it, it's not cringy.
It's like satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, it helps me move on by like rubbing it in how good I'm doing.
Yeah, and it's like, you are that bitch. Like, you look in the mirror and you tell yourself, like, I am that bitch.
Yeah, you know what? Like, when I was going through like something in the beginning of university, I was talking to one of my older friends who had just gotten out of a breakup. And she was going through it, like, her ex-boyfriend was a dick, like, complete piece of shit, and he was, like, the day after they broke up, like, hooking up with other girls in front of her, like, it was fucked. But she told me, like, initially she started posting on her story, like, going to the gym or whatever, like, she started posting that to, like, get at him and, like, show what he was missing, and then eventually it turned into something that she did for her. Yeah. Like, it turned into something that she did for herself, and that was her motivation to like be consistent. And then it was like she fell in love with the gym, she fell in love with like going and bettering herself, whatever. And that was the same with me. Like, I was getting up like 7 a.m. at my dorm, going outside, going for a walk, getting a coffee from like the UCC building at my school, and then I would like walk back. I would get my work done outdoors, I would go to the gym, like everything. My routine was like on par. But like when I stopped giving a shit about this stupid boy,
it just fades.
It just sat. Like it stuck with me, that routine and everything. And like,
yeah, no, I think
like get on top.
Fake it till you make it is definitely like a big thing. Like I like hear it all the time. Like people are always like fake it till you make it. Like literally apply that to every situation in your life and you'll be successful. Yeah. Like if you don't believe you're that bitch yet, like believe it. Like pretend. Like
manifest.
Manifesting. We need to talk about manifesting.
Whoa. Manifesting on the next episode.
Yeah, no, because like we literally every single day, it's like you need to look in the mirror and you be like, I am wealthy. Like I am successful. Like you need to say
rich,
you need to.
Yeah.
You need to say all of those things to yourself. You need to tell yourself, like, I am worthy, I am loved. Like, you need to believe it. If you don't believe it in yourself, like, ain't nobody gonna, like, believe it either. Like, nobody's gonna treat you right if you don't treat yourself right.
We can get into this. That's such a good point. We can get into this more, like, in depth in the future episodes. But, like, affirmations, like, on God, like, if you believe it, you will become it. Like, I swear. Like, if you look in the mirror every day and you're like, I feel guilty about this, I feel guilty about that, like, that is all you're going to think about. But when you're like, like Jeff said, like all these examples, like you're like, I'm successful, I'm proud of who I am, like you will feel that way. Like you're like, I'm over this guy, then you're over this guy. Like it'll help. It'll actually help because when you say it and you speak it, like you speak it into existence. Like it's honestly helpful. Like affirmations, manifestation. Yeah. I got a friend influence me. Mine was in a relationship, it was a talking stage with a guy, and like I guess it wasn't so much what a friend influenced me to do, but I didn't listen to my friends in this situation. I had given this guy so many chances, and he was like crazy, like very, very crazy. I can't express it in any other way. Like psycho. Like yeah. So I gave him so many chances, and my friends were like, almost like the one hard part was like, my friends didn't support me, which was fine, but then they got mad at me for not listening to them, even though like they didn't even barely know the guy. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I didn't listen to them. I kept giving him chances, and I regret that because it's not that I regret not listening to them, it's that I regret giving him multiple chances. Because after the fact, you look like an idiot. Like I actually look back and I'm like, wow, like it's only been like I'd say 3 months since, and I feel so dumb. I look back, I'm like, how could I ever not see through that? Like manipulation and just like all of the bad stuff that came along with that. Like I don't know how I didn't see through, or I did, and I gave him more chances just so that I could prove to myself that like I was right, or that like, you know, like I didn't throw it away for just one incident. Like, you know, so I'm happy that I did make my own decision. Ultimately, I had to learn for myself and not just do it because someone else told me. Because who knows, if I listened to my friend, maybe I'd still be in this situation, giving him chances.
I never want to say like, oh, I regret this, I regret that, because like you wouldn't be the person you are today if you weren't to do those actions, which is like sometimes unfortunate, but like that's kind of how it goes. And like if you say that you regret those actions, like I feel like it's in a sense like saying you regret who you are now, if that makes sense. But
I would say also like maybe not regret is the word, but like it definitely embarrassed. Like we were talking about this earlier, like definitely embarrassed by the fact that like we let them either walk all over us or gave them too many chances. Like, you know, like sometimes I wish I could have like brought the like the boss energy out and just been like, no, like one and done. Like I don't give you chances. Like that's it. And like I feel like with each relationship and each talking phase you go through, you learn more and more every time. You're like, I'm not gonna put up with this. Like this is a red flag, and I don't need to see 3 red flags to move on. Like one is enough.
Self-worth like gets bigger and bigger and
yes,
bigger. Like
exactly.
you realize like how much you're worth and like how much you're willing to give to people, and like that can't happen unless you fall a couple times, unfortunately. Like that's just the truth.
And as you grow and get older, you realize like if like also as you grow and you get older, you're dating older guys and whatever, they're more mature as well, and like hopefully that they know like they're not gonna treat you poorly if they want to keep you around, and if they're not mature enough to know that, then it's not worth it. Like keep moving. Go to the next guy in line. Definitely some girls are like that. Like they like the challenge, they like the chase. Like a lot of girls like the chase.
Which is fine. I think that kind of like ensures you're gonna get hurt in the long run though. Like because you become like so fixated on like this one thing or this one person that like you can't have, or like that you're like it just becomes like a game, and like unfortunately like like sure people like that, but like I don't think it's healthy.
I think that it can go one of two ways. Like it can be a game for so long, and like that might work initially, but after a certain point of time, if like you're consistently trying to make the girl jealous, like she will just give up. Like that'll be the point where like you're pushing her away, and she's just getting further.
It's a very risky
she's not
game.
Like coming back. Like you can do it so much, and then it gets to a point where she's just gonna give up. Or be like, this is childish. Like it really depends on who you're like playing with. Yeah.
I also don't think that like any guy that plays games like that like is not your forever guy. Like if he wanted to, he would. Like if he wanted to like actually be with you, then he would. Like he would make an effort. Like don't like flatter yourself by like thinking like, oh, like he's playing these games with me. Like don't try to be in denial.
It can be exhausting as hell. Like I used to be super into that in high school, like the chase, and in university I'm just like I don't have time. Like I'm too stressed out. I'm working on my school, on myself, like whatever. I don't have time to like go back and forth with this shit. Like it's honestly exhausting, but it really depends on who you're talking to. Like
and unless like you have like personally have the mindset of like being okay with that. Like I know I'm not, but like I know a lot of my friends are like very much like like I'll hook up with a different person every weekend. Like I don't care, and like that's totally fine. Like that's totally great, and if that makes you happy, but it's like you can't like force that. Like if you're not like built like that, then like it could be very painful very quick.
It depends on like how attached you get. And then there's the flip side too, where girls will like hate simps. Like and I'm like that. Like I don't want someone to like simp for me and like do whatever I want. And it's like it's not like one or the other, like simp or playing a game. Like just like
there's a happy medium.
A happy medium. That's a good way to put it.
Also, oh my god, total side note, but I think asking for Snapchats or like Instagram is like so outdated. I think like once you hit university, like bring back like asking for numbers. Like I think
you think?
Yes, I like totally think it's so like I don't know. Like every time a guy asks for my Snapchat, I'm just kind of like, why?
You don't like that?
No, because it's just like I don't know. Like unless again, like it depends if it's like just a hookup. If it's just a hookup, okay, that's fine. But it's like if it's a guy that I actually like think that I could have something with, it's like I don't know. It's just
you
like
don't want to Snapchat.
No, because it's just like so like weird to me. Like Snapchat just feels so like young and like just very immature almost. That I think like texting on a real number is like I don't know, like like it's just more genuine, I think.
I get that for sure. I think I'm the opposite though, because I worry that if it's text convo only, then like we'll stop talking like that. Like we'll run out of shit to talk about. But then again, if you're running out of shit to talk about, it's obviously not gonna last long term.
That's like why my whole like I completely like vetoed that like whole thing. But like that was just something I've been thinking about, that I've been talking to people about, that like bring back asking for numbers. Like stop asking for Snapchats unless there's a time and a place. There definitely is a time and a place. But like for example, like
first meeting the guy's like, can I get your number?
No, if I was at a coffee shop and somebody came up to me and asked for my Snapchat, I'd be like, no. If they came up to me and asked for my number, I'd be like, okay, like you're serious, like you're cool. There was this one time I was at this coffee shop sitting, and this guy bought her a cookie and left his number in the bag of the cookie and gave it to her.
That's so cute.
And she like made this whole scene. It was so adorable. But like that's kind of what we need.
You witnessed that live?
Yeah.
That's so cute.
It was so cute.
Thanks for tuning into this week's episode.
Drop a comment down below for what you want to hear from us next. We're going to be uploading every Wednesday.
Like and subscribe.